fork and a spoon. We'll be down to happy too. You'll all feel chummy as you fill your tummy with a knife, a fork and a spoon. Start tap, tap, tap in a dish. You'll get your favorite wish. Send trouble dashing while your corned beef hashing with a knife, a fork and a spoon.
Cutlery is a common item and has been in existence for as long as you and I can remember. But how much do people actually know about our traditional tableware?
There's a knife, a fork and a spoon.
That there's different types of it.
Not much, just like easy to eat with.
That it's really practical.
You can get a spork, which is a spoon and a fork.
The use of cutlery today is an everyday occurrence, but has it always been a part of our lives?
Cutlery's not really been part of the human experience in the formal dining sense for very long. In the ancient world, way back in the day to the year dot, people used what we might consider cutlery. Back to cavemen, of course they used spikes to put food into their mouth in ancient times. We don't have a lot of evidence, of course. A lot of this stuff is non-evidence, but the first recorded evidence that we have, that historians have found of the use of a fork, is as far back as the 11th century. But that fork is not something we recognise today. Probably two-pronged, probably quite unwieldy.
Cutlery didn't really become popular until the masses could afford it. So when in the Victorian era where mechanisation and industrialisation took place, things could be made much more cheaply than the masses could afford to buy cutlery, and very often had complete sets. And this little set is a mid-Victorian piece, and this is an asparagus server. So the asparagus would be served on this, and you can see the ridged pieces on the server, and they would serve the asparagus. Very genteel, but dining was a very important part of the day, and then they wanted cutlery for everything.
Although cutlery was at its height of popularity in the Victorian era, it is still considered a necessity in any household, with some old notions of proper dining still evident today.
Think of how things that you take for granted today, like how you hold your knife and fork, that's not just natural, that's evolved over years. Whether it's right to hold your fork in your left hand, knife in right hand. These are rituals of dining which tell us a lot about us, but which have evolved over years. And they speak to the fact that the actual ritual of eating dinner has changed immensely. When you go out to a restaurant today, you get courses, don't you? You get your starter, your main, and your dessert. And that's the dining style à la Russe, the Russian style, and that became more common again in the 19th century.
In today's society, restaurants with a high status will often offer silver service. But how does this differ from our usual table setting and food delivery?
So our restaurant service is plated service, and when we do weddings and events upstairs, it's silver service. The utensils for the restaurant tend to be that we set the starter cutlery and main course cutlery, and then only when people have the desserts do we then put the dessert cutlery into place.
Shrimp fork, salad fork, dinner fork.
I definitely have the salad fork. The rest of the silverware is a little confusing.
Between shifts, the general manager of the Olive Tree explained how cutlery varies depending on the courses served.
So the standard procedure for table laying is of a daytime, it's set the tables up as the customer orders the food. Of an evening, the standard procedure is a little bit different, so do a double set of cutlery, so 2 forks, 2 knives and a glass of wine per customer. The service is different for different occasions, so of a daytime, we set it completely up. For pre-theatre dining, we do 2 sets of forks, 2 knives and a glass of wine. It's the same as our evening service. And then we also do for Christmas and those sort of occasions. We might put like a cracker on the table or make it a little bit more festive.
However, sometimes cutlery is not used in a conventional manner.
I do get a lot of people who require a fork for eating ice cream, which I think is a little bit weird. I've had that one a few times. And we have a regular customer as well. We have a dish, a chocolate brownie dish, and they always request a fork to eat a chocolate brownie, which again I think is pretty weird, but oh well.
So, the way we eat has been shaped by time and society. Eating with our fork in our left hand and our knife in our right was never a part of our nature.